That being said, I've decided to take my academic and athletic talent to University of Notre Dame.
Welcome back, Irish fans, to Breaking Down Braves Boys podcast. Today I'm with Jake, and a couple hours ago we just got some big news about the Blake Wesley commitment. And now that all the smoke is cleared, everything is settled, let's dive right into it. I guess we'll give Jake the first word. Jake, what are your initial thoughts about the Blake Wesley commitment?
I think he gives us a combination of skills that we haven't really seen in many. I think he's an all-around player. On the offensive side, he's a great scorer. I think he's a good enough playmaker that he could even play point guard. See if that happens. He has athleticism, size, length to play defense. So a lot of people say he's better than his offense. I think he's going to be one of those guys that is a good bench contributor year one, then sophomore through senior year, starts. I think he's going to be one of those players, like a Gibbs, per se, for reference. I think he can be even greater. I think he can really be an all ACC player. I think he's got that much talent. Very excited to have him.
Me too, definitely. I agree. I think you get an instant contributor in him. He hasn't come out and said that Bray's telling him you're going to get this role or whatever. But this afternoon, I saw an interview with him that he said he wanted to one and done. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So if you have that much confidence, that definitely means you're going to come in and contribute, or at least he has the skill set too. We'll see if it happens. But I also was talking about this earlier, but I think this is a move that means a lot more than just getting a 4-star prospect. I think it's almost more important to not get him than actually getting him on the team. It's just Bray's been going after him for so long. The staff, they talk to him every day. He's from South Bend, friends with JR. There was just so much going in Notre Dame's direction that if they didn't end up getting him, I think that would have been a bigger blow than kind of how it helps them, even though it will be a big help. Also, the aspect of in-state recruiting, the 247 rankings for in-state, 2 of the top 3 are Purdue, and I know Purdue was out of it because they didn't have a scholarship left. But if you let Purdue get all 3 of the top 3 players in the state, whether those rankings are accurate or not, that's not a good thing.
They're playing Purdue this year. They figure to a lot in the future, so that only adds to it, really. They have to. They really do have to ramp up the in-state recruiting. So they just got they just got JR and Blake. The last time they did before that was in 2013. So it was 2 guys before that. So we really need to ramp up the in-state recruiting. I don't care where a good player comes from, but it does help give you an advantage when you're in state. So you have more avenues to good players, really. We've seen it before, we've seen it now. So this is a good sign. The past 2 years of recruiting before this were kind of we had a class without anybody in 2 years ago. And then, I think this year we just got 2 really talented players. I hope we can have more classes like 2018, maybe even better. So I really hope this is the start of maybe a Mike Bray in recruiting that we've never really seen before. I think he can really give us a boost in that regard, and hope it continues.
Yeah, definitely. The thing with Purdue also is that, they just took Ivy from us first, both guys who we were players for, and then we beat them out with 2 other guys in Knesny and Wesley. So that's also huge, like we were talking about earlier. And then also another element to it is the hometown hero thing. Notre Dame's a school that's been they've been struggling to get fans in the seats, surprisingly. But now that's not an issue. I don't think it will be, at least, because you got 2 guys who are from South Bend, have huge fan bases in South Bend, 2 of the most hyped high school basketball players in the whole state. I just think that's another big element to it, outside of their contributions on the court. So I think it's a big move on and off the court for Notre Dame. Anything else with that kind of stuff?
Well, I think JR definitely played a big part in this. So I don't know who's really coming through there, but if this can lead to more South Bend kids, I know, obviously like a place like South Bend it isn't going to have like the biggest pool of talented players, but if we just had two talented players come through, who's not to say like, another one comes through? That would be really good if we can help. Or at least, establish more of a pipeline in Northern Indiana. I know they're targeting some of those guys. I really like to see that they landed this. I think this is their biggest recruiting land since Nate 3 years ago. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Not including Trey as a transfer.
Oh yeah. I just think all the buzz about this commitment is huge for them. I mean, with Wirtz is probably, well, maybe not probably, but arguably a better player than Wesley will be. But the thing is, Wesley has so much going for him outside of basketball. He's a star in South Bend, all that kind of stuff. It's just, I think this is huge for them, even bigger than JR probably, because of all the anticipation that we've had over the last couple months for him. And this is huge. I mean, he's like a household name with Notre Dame basketball fans, which you don't see from recruits that often before they commit. So, but yeah, and then the only other thing I have really is I wanted to know, do you think that their class of 21 is done now? And if so, where do you think they go from here in terms of recruiting? Just go ahead first, and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, I think it's done right now. I don't really know where they can add. I think from where they go here is to add a grad transfer because next year is going to be really big. So if you can add like a grad transfer to play in the front court alongside Nate, that I think that really solidifies pretty much as deep a team in at least in quantity. We'll see about quality as Mike Bray has really ever had up there, not first. Now I think there's a possibility that Matt Zona has such a good freshman season that they decide, you know what, it's better to give him the minutes, or maybe they target a guy for the bench. I think that's where they go from here. They're going to need to start looking at, he is a guard, but I think they are going to need to start looking at guards again pretty soon because before you know it, Hub and Ryan are senior. I mean, not Ryan, but Hub's a senior. Ryan and Wirtz are juniors, so they're going to need a backup for when they're seniors. So I think they're going to go for some guards, even though it's loaded right now in the future. Yeah, I think that's where they go from here.
Yeah, agreed. I think they're probably done in 2021. Maybe we hear of one or two more guys they offer. I don't know if they'll make legitimate pushes for him unless it's like an insane fit, especially with the dead period and going to April now, them not being able to see anybody in person. But from here, I think I agree with you. I think you go after a guy like Paul Atkinson from Yale. I don't know how accurate that is, but you got to get unless Zona or Taylor, if they think they can fill that role, you're going to have to go get like a high-level front line, down low kind of guy to complement.
I agree. I think, Bray has an aversion to grad transfers, but I mean, they have to go for that next year. I mean, this year, hoping to make the tournament. If they can't make the tournament next year, then something has gone very wrong. They need to go out. They need to put all their chips in the table for next year. So I know there's some balls out there that they're expected to, at least attempt it. I think that would make me very happy to add one. I think that would be their best team in, I guess, 5 years.
Definitely. I think onto that also, you have to look at when Hub and Goodwin and Nate were set to graduate 2022. It looks like they're trying to make that a big class, already 9 offers. You got Fletcher Lawyer committing on Monday. Not looking good with that right now. Don't want to go too much into that because this is about Blake, but you got so many guys that you can potentially land in that class. I know it's going to be a tough sell, like you said. Well, I don't know if you said that, but that's what I was thinking when you were talking. But like for a guy like JJ Starling, if he can come in and replace Hub, you don't really miss a beat there at all. So I think you need that kind of guy next. But it could be probably a year till we get a commitment otherwise. So for now, I guess we just enjoy our commits and try not to think too much about 2022 because this was a really solid class, I thought. If they are in fact done and they don't go after a Tony Sanders late signing period guy. But yeah,
I would be surprised if they did. I was surprised they did with Sanders because Brady doesn't like to have bigger rosters. So you're going to add a late signing guy 2 years in a row. I think it's a good enough class. It's two guys when we're graduating one. I think it's good. Never say never. They should always do their due diligence and see who they can get because I mean, what do you have to lose? But I think I'd probably be very happy if the class stayed as it is.
Definitely quality over quantity, and for this one, and I think they're okay with that. This didn't even have to be like a big class. I think just because of all the depth you already have on that roster, even if you don't get any commits, you still have a decent roster next year. And this is just icing on the cake now. Um, this team is going to be so deep in 21 that I think if there's a guy we see this year getting minutes and he's kind of struggling, maybe like a Tony Sanders type of guy. That's kind of who I think of when I think of that. But he could have a role this year, and the next year he wouldn't have a role. That's just how deep that team's going to be. I think that's definitely a possibility. You agree with that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, definitely. Should be fun.
Definitely. So that's all we have, I guess. Unless you have anything else, we have the season preview coming out probably early next week. This will probably go up Saturday. So definitely check that out. And then we're going to be previewing every game once the season starts. We're planning a Michigan preview date very soon. So thank you guys for watching. Go Irish, and welcome Blake Wesley.